Hello, my name is Patience, host of Spirit News on Spotify, and we have something very special that we want to share with you because I have been given so many beautiful alternate timeline tales of other souls' alternate timelines, and the ones that specifically affect their life or this life now, where a tether was created from some emotional experience that creates a gap in their belief system now. The first story of this segment that we're going to share with you is one that I received from Princella the Queenmaker's Spirit Guides. And the reason why I got it is because, first of all, she's on social media. So it's kind of like a permission slip to be able to connect with her higher self. And so her guides sent her to me because I wasn't seeking her out. I didn't know anything about her. I didn't need her information in any way, even though it is very interesting and empowering for women. But it does have a gap in the belief system she carries because she has a belief that men are not capable of love. And that just isn't true. And it's carried over into her work in her life now. And if she doesn't take a look at it and try to redirect or switch that belief into something else more positive, then she will continue to attract people who have a very toxic masculinity who aren't capable of loving her the way she receives love. And so it will always create this bias in her because she doesn't see it, because she doesn't know about her non-physicalness in that way. So it's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing or bad thing. It's just something we should know, because if we have energetic cords that keep us from remembering who we are and finding our soul's path alignment, then that's something I want to know. That's something I want to take a look at. That's something I'm interested in. I want to hear more. What can I do? And really, the only thing you need to do is hear the story, bring awareness to it, because hearing the story not only will help you become aware that you can have alternate timeline trauma that affects you now, and you can heal it, and you can cut the cord, and you can change.
So, once upon a time, in a universe, time, dimension far, far away, there was a giant of a planet that looked very orangey, like deserty. I wouldn't say desolate, but you can definitely tell, not like Mars where there's like nothing on the surface. It wasn't destroyed. It doesn't have any, like there wasn't a war there. It's just a desert, just naturally in the cycle of a desert. But there's a highly advanced race there. And the first thing they show me is kind of like not a throne, but a raised up platform where I can tell maybe like these beings on the platform are part of like royal or elite, or they're like on a hierarchy because of the way they're dressed. And the beings look like a mix between a salamander, a squid or jellyfish, a cephalopod, and an African face mask, in the sense that it's like long, big eyes, like no, like barely a mouth, like no mouth, no nose, completely black skin, like pitch black, like skin's kind of like looks like a salamander's would look, but like wet, like a jellyfish or like an octopus. And they have big black eyes, and they don't eat food, and their planet has a liquid, like ours has water, but theirs is like their water, but it's not water, it's a black, pitch black liquid that's like the viscosity of water, but it's not water, it's pitch black, and it's bubbles. It's like, it looks like it bubbles up, like it's boiling in these pools that it's in, kind of like, I guess like Yosemite has those geyser things, but it like these ones are with the black liquid. So I don't know if that liquid's like on their skin, like protecting it, and that's why they're so dark, all of them. I'm not sure. I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure. But they have very ornate, like, clothes on. It's very like, you can tell it's handmade by just material they find on the planet. It's very like organic looking, but it's intricate. And like, how do you even make a leaf do that? I don't know. Like, you'll see in the pictures. And so these beings on the platform are surrounding one matriarch, and as I look out across my people, I can see that this is a matriarch. This society is ran by a matriarch, a hierarchy, oh my gosh, I can't speak. A hierarchical matriarchy society where the women rule and are considered, I guess, better than their male counterparts, who are actually smaller, and they don't mistreat them, but they don't help them to expand or grow. They're at a very basic low consciousness. They really just use them as like workers and sex workers and for procreation, and they don't really believe that they're capable of companionship or of having like intellectual stimulating conversations. So they just don't, they're not mean to them, but they aren't looked at as equals. So they're dressed different. They're actually like more atrophied. They're not as like tall and energetic or like vibrant as the other beings. This race of beings is also highly psychic, highly psychic race. They're telepathic, they have telekinesis, everything, all the things that have to do with the mind. They are so advanced, they are so in touch with their planet. The only thing that really holds them back from advancing past the point they are now is they don't consider their male counterparts as equal. So it creates a separation of, elitism, of entitlement, of conditional love, and basically just separation. So not ideal in a society if you want to advance your consciousness. So what happened was, one day an exploratory ship came and found the planet, and on this hybrid human extraterrestrials, and who are also telepathic, and they were just looking for benevolent planets to learn about different cultures and societies and all that. And they found this one, and the queen, so it's so funny, she calls herself Pincella the Queenmaker, the queen of this society, of this matriarch, decided when this ship landed and was asking her would you mind if we studied your culture and we'll tell you about ours and we'll trade information and booty and whatever, goods and stuff. And she was so curious because she had never ever seen anyone like him before, because males to her are not capable of, you know, flying ships and knowing multiple languages and just like everything that the male counterparts of her society are not. These males were, and this captain was. And so she was so curious because she didn't even know that was possible. So she allowed them to come into her place, and they stayed there for a long time, like every day, learning about each other, and the queen and the captain. And they'd either have dinner by themselves and talk about the differences and learn about each other, and they're doing this telepathically, or they'd be having dinner with the crew and her maidens and stuff, and like really just connecting and getting along. And so the time came when the human hybrids had to go because their mission was over, and they only came to study, not to stay. And he's got a family back home and all that stuff. And so she was actually shocked when he said, yeah, I'm gonna be leaving. And she was actually so shocked because this whole time she thought she's been falling in love with him, and she didn't know, because she's never ever been in love before. She's the queen. You're the queen, and then you die. You don't have a companionship. You don't fall in love. You just, you know what I'm saying? It's like she was getting to know this person and realizing that she can have a connection and that she can be in love, and it's such an exciting feeling, and she wanted everyone to know about it and that it was possible for them. And when he said he was leaving, she assumed that he must feel the same way, because he's excited too to get to know me. And her naivety, because she had never experienced that feeling of connection before with a male counterpart, she took that and attached herself to it because it felt so good, and it made her feel so seen and heard and validated, and all the things that sometimes we don't even realize we need. And he made her feel so good, she thought that he must feel that way too. But from his perspective, he has the concept of love, and he lives equally next to his wife. In his society, the women and the men are completely equal, and they're considered, in balance. And so he has never seen this kind of masculine and feminine energy playing out in this way. And so that's fascinating to him. So he wants to know more, because he's so excited to be learning something new. He's discovered a new society in the universe. So he is exhibiting excitement, but in a different way. And so she read all the signs wrong from her very naive point of view and processing of her emotions. And when he said, yeah, I gotta go, she's like, no, you're supposed to stay. I thought you were staying. Why would you want to go? You don't want to stay? And he's like, what do you mean? You knew I was only staying so long. I have a family back home. I mean, I'd love to come back and visit and maybe bring my family one day. And she started getting upset as I could feel her anger rising. And it feels very similar to that energy of Carrie, where just like this, like, what did you say? Like, just a complete illusion was broken. And she built this fantasy that they were gonna live happily ever after, and they were gonna have sex, and like all these things that she didn't know could happen. She was fantasizing about, and making him her fantasy. And so he basically rejected her because she was like, but I love you. I thought you loved me. And he innocently reacted with a laugh that was, it felt more like when you laugh at an innocent child that says something, really sweet, and they don't understand what they said. It was like that. But that made her feel so humiliated because she thought he was laughing at her about the way she feels, that she flew into a blind rage, just completely blackout rage. And she had some kind of psychic power thing, like Dark Phoenix, and she exploded the planet pretty much, and everyone and everything on fire, and it burned. And then she, alone in a pit of fire, as she was about to die, she said, I'll never trust, or I'll never give my heart away to a man again. I'll never trust a man again, or something like that. And she made that promise to herself as she died in this fit of emotional rage. And she killed everybody. And then she died with that emotional attachment tethered to the life she has now, where she's Princess the Queenmaker. And she basically has a gap in her belief system that men are not capable of love. And that's what she said herself, not me. That's her quote. She says she believes that men are not capable of love. And it's because of this belief that she thinks is from this life, because she has experienced things that make her feel like men aren't capable of love. But it's also attached to this life where she made this promise. So now everything she does in this life, she has a bad experience with men, so they never can show her that they're capable of love the way that she needs to be loved. So she is teaching empowerment to women, except for this one thing that her spirit guide showed me about her belief system. Because the truth is that the goal is to be balanced in both masculine and feminine energies. It's not to be a matriarch or patriarch. It's meant to be in balance with both, where we're both on level ground, we're both equal, and we both know what our roles are and how to come together and respect each other. But in our society, we live in a patriarch, so it sees the woman as less than, underneath, below. They're the leaders and whatever. And so we are operating in that way in our society, and it does really mess with the power dynamic of men and women, because we don't understand our non-physicalness. And so the reason why she can't find true love or maintain or keep a relationship is because she's focuses all her time on her work, because she feels like she has such a message and she has such a great message, and she does empower women, but she's also teaching women that men aren't capable of love, so you have to be this way or men will walk all over you, which is true to an extent. But the truth is, every being alive is capable of love. It's just that we forgot. And so there is no being on this planet that isn't capable of love. It's just that some don't know how to do it, or don't know what it looks like, or don't know what it's supposed to feel like, or don't know how to give it, or don't feel like they're worthy enough to receive it, so no one else is worthy enough for their love, so it all comes from wounds. And as long as she believes that men aren't capable of love, she will not find love in masculine energy.
anything that has a masculine energy. It doesn't have to be a relationship with a man. It could just be with herself. It could be with her mom. It could be with the way that she operates. You know, she could be operating too much in her masculinity and not allowing herself to be vulnerable and open to the idea that, you know, not everyone is gonna know how to love properly. They have to be taught, and if they're not willing to be taught, then you just gotta learn how to move on because it don't feel good. So that is her story, and I hope that you liked it. When I first recorded the story, I couldn't stop crying. That's why I had to re-record it. I actually recorded it 3 times because I kept crying at the end, because when I first got it, it was so powerful. I like sobbed like a baby, honestly, because it was crazy. But I hope you enjoyed that. I'm so happy I got to tell it and share it with you guys, and there'll be more to come. So love you. Happy non-physicalness.